All right, welcome back. So I'm gonna make another video in the Agile Learning Institute one, getting hired part 2. I just think this is probably one of the most
All
important
right,
things I
welcome
can
to the second
put up
video in my.
on my channel right now, because I think there's kind of a struggle for a lot of people. And then I think sometimes I have things to say that are a bit like contrarian, that I think would help some people to hear, such as, such as like figuring out like what you want and like going for that, instead of like continually giving all you got just to get something you don't want. So I'm gonna make the second part. So I'll click on the next video here that I had for myself, and then we're gonna read about strategy. Introduction. The first step is to have a strategy. You've come this far with a deliberate and strategic approach to learning. Why abandon it at the most important phase? And one aside to that is this comes at the end of a course. So they've assumed that you've completed the course. I'm skipping ahead. So if you really want to get hired, especially in this subject matter, you will need to have completed the course. You've come this, yeah. So getting a job can itself be a full-time job. So use your time wisely and plan ahead. There are some things you can and should do ahead of time, which we will cover in greater depth below. The path to working takes the following form. Step 1, figure out your needs and skills. Step 2, figure out what companies need and offer. Step 3, increase your odds by laying the groundwork early. Step 4, collect job leads. Step 5, qualify job leads. Step 6, reach out and apply. Step 7, interview. Step 8, handle the offers. And step 9, profit. And there are 2 question marks. Not sure what that means. You'll notice that it's quite structured. Let me check my audio. It's always important to check that. For some reason, it's really quiet. I don't know why, but hopefully it's good enough. I should check my input. Okay, yeah, that's good. All right, some things are more optional than others, but you've got to have a plan, or you'll find yourself spamming your resume out to every job post on every job board and wondering why you haven't had any success. Or maybe you'll end up going through a long and painful process and realizing you never wanted that job anyway. A total waste of time. We'll also cover some alternative paths you can take, like finishing up your education at a coding bootcamp, and how you can contribute to open source projects like this one to boost your real world experience. All right, so now there's assignment. I'm not going to do the assignments. This is my read through. A fantastic place to start your getting hired journey is the very thorough article from Happy Bear Software on how to get a programmer job. Now actually get out of the clouds, stop dreaming about how you'll get hired, and actually do it. So this would be, yeah, it's a pretty long article, so this would be a good thing to do on the second read through. But right now I just want to read through this whole thing. And in addition to that, we've got some additional resources here. This section contains helpful links to other content. It isn't required, so consider it supplemental. So lots of great information here as well. I can close this. So this one is another one, kind of like this one. And then this one sounds like a really good one for anyone who needs a US visa. There's a whole article on that here. Don't miss that. And then here's another one. Looks like it's more specifically for searching for money and for opportunities to make money in Silicon Valley specifically. I wish there was one for like remote. I don't know. Maybe I could write that. myself, but I don't know if I'd have anything super valuable to say on that. All right, so I can mark this complete and go on to the next lesson. It starts with you. Introduction. This lesson is all about self-assessment and goal setting. If you don't understand yourself, you won't be happy with where you end up. Taking some time to introspect can make the process of getting hired a more manageable and strategic process. Where you are now, without defining what your own needs are, you will have no way of determining the right path forward, so hunker down until you've got an idea of what your key needs are right now from a job. The questions below should help you think about what is actually essential for you versus nice to have. Ask yourself, why do I need a job? What kind of salary level do I need to sustain myself and my family? What kind of job security level do I need to sustain myself and my family? How desperate am I to get a job right now? This is a good question, I think, because I like this question a lot. So, where you want to be. Once you've been honest with yourself about your needs, it's time to figure out what you want. What will your future needs be? What kinds of companies do you want to work at? Great. This is exactly what I spoke about in the last video and when I started with this video. This, I think, is a really important message. So here's a list of questions to ask yourself to figure out what you want. Why do I want a career in web development? And I feel like you can, if your answer is I don't, just ad-lib this out. What kind of career path do I want to have? Do I want to work in a developer-led organization versus sales or business-led? Do I prefer working in a team environment or remotely? And I don't feel like there should be an or here. I feel like remotely is, in fact, more of a team environment because you get to see the person's screen, you get to use collaboration tools. So I feel like it should be, do I prefer working remotely on a team or something else? I really don't agree with this or here. Do I like working long hours / weekends or 9 to 6? Is the work more important than the people? Do I care about the product I'm building? Do I have to care about the technologies I'm using? Do I prefer an easy work environment or one where I'm constantly pushed? Do I want creature comfort incentives like free food and beer at the office? Do I have to enjoy my work, or can I power through a crappy job? Prioritizing needs and wants. You should have at least an informational list of the things that matter to you. Now, ruthlessly rank them. What are your non-negotiables, and what are your nice-to-haves? Every company and opportunity will fail somewhere on the spectrum defined by those questions, and they are the criteria you will later use to evaluate them. This will help you stay focused when considering opportunities and not spread yourself too thin chasing things that you wouldn't really choose anyway. Make sure you know every one of your must-haves and your top 5 priorities for nice-to-haves in a job. What are your assets and liabilities? It's time to be honest with yourself. What do you bring to the table? If you're early in your career, which you probably are, you'll have to work hard to distinguish yourself from the flood of unqualified candidates out there. You need to, and this is another thing too. You know, if you aren't, I think you can get some value out of this. So don't let that put you off. You need to strike the line between being honest with yourself and not selling yourself short. Everyone, especially those starting out, feels unqualified. That's natural, so don't worry about it. This is about figuring out your strengths and weaknesses so you can tailor your story to play to your strengths and honestly address your weaknesses. I kind of do have something to say about this too. I don't really agree that everyone, especially those starting out, feels unqualified. Um, I feel like for myself, my first job was out of a 2-year school. I was the top of my class. I had certifications no one else had. I didn't feel unqualified. Like I felt very much qualified. I felt ready to go. I felt humble. I might have felt unqualified because I thought that was a more appropriate way to feel because it was my first job. But I don't think everyone, especially those starting out, feels unqualified. And if you don't feel unqualified, I urge you to really kind of own that feeling, and don't gaslight yourself or like convince yourself that you're not qualified, because you probably are a rock star. Like if you graduated at the top of your class, you have a special cert knocked out no one else has, you're working on the next highest level no one else is, you're a rock star. You are qualified. You're overqualified, and you should own that. So I feel like this is something nobody will ever say to you. You'll never hear, and you'll only hear this message. Everyone, especially those starting out, feels qualified. Like there's validation in feeling unqualified. It's okay to feel unqualified. And I would say, if you don't feel that way, and you've got backing, you've got proof to back it up, you've got your certification ahead of everyone else, you are top in your class, own that feeling. Like adopt that as your persona. You're the rock star. You're the ace, and that's good. I feel like that would really work out. Like having this undue modesty, these undue feelings of unqualification, is not natural. So like this idea that it's natural that if you start out you should feel unqualified. Absolutely not. If you are a rock star from your boot camp or whatever, it's not natural to feel unqualified. You should feel very qualified. And if you're gaslighting yourself, you're saying, oh, I feel imposter syndrome, everyone's so smart around me. Really think about it. Is that true? Because like I said, it's not natural to feel unqualified when you first start out. And especially if you paid $10,000 for education, I would say it's unnatural to feel unqualified. It's very inappropriate to feel unqualified because you paid for your qualification. So you should feel prepared. You should feel like you're ready. You should feel qualified. Like it's natural to feel qualified in your first job if you paid for qualifications. Now the caveat on that is be careful, because you are going to see a lot of things in your first job that wasn't in your training. So I believe that it is natural to feel qualified, and that not everyone starting out feels unqualified. And if you don't feel unqualified, I believe you should own that, and you should really kind of adopt that persona of somebody who was well trained and a motivated student and is qualified for the job. I think that's really important. But you do need to be able to see new things that you've never seen before, and not interject. Like I've talked about the 48 laws of power before, but outshine the master. Like I feel like you're not the master at the company. You are a new person out there, especially if it's your first job. But this idea that you should feel unqualified and that's totally natural, I just don't agree with. I just think it's important to feel humble, feel ready to learn, but to feel unqualified, I think seems really inappropriate for me, especially if you paid a lot in qualifications. But I'm not saying if the principal engineer says it works like this and you're convinced it doesn't, I'm not saying that what you say is automatically true. I'm saying that feeling qualified is natural. That's what I'm saying. Especially if you have a lot to back it up that you are qualified. And you probably do. You landed the job. So you probably are qualified. And feeling that way is natural. You don't have to gaslight yourself into feeling unqualified. All right. So that's natural. Don't worry about it. And the caveat I add, if you do feel qualified, that's natural. Don't worry about it. Have some humility, learn new things. You're in a new environment. Things you see are not going to be from the textbook, but that doesn't mean you have to feel like you don't have the qualifications. You do. That's why they hired you. This is about figuring out your strengths and weaknesses so you can tailor your story to play to your strengths and honestly address your weaknesses. Some questions to ask, which you'll probably hear again in your early interviews. How hungry am I? And by that they mean, like, how much motivation do I have to succeed? How good am I at building back-end code? And, for whatever field you're in, you can ad-lib, fill in the blank. How good am I at putting together front ends? Again, fill in the blank. How can I solve really technical problems like brain teasers and algorithms? Have I built projects that display a good range of skills? Do I know people who can recommend me? Am I a good people person who builds relationships easily? Do I portray an aura of confidence or act shy? Do I tend to undersell myself and my capabilities? Do I have a broad level of general tech knowledge? Am I very familiar with a particular technical or industry vertical? Usually career switchers have one. Career switchers. I guess I don't know what that means, because my understanding of career switchers is I'm a career switcher. I wanted to be a professional classical musician for some reason, and now I work in tech. So am I very familiar with a particular technical or industry vertical? I mean, I guess so, like network engineering. So I guess the answer is yes for me. Do I tend to procrastinate, or do I just get things... They're using a swear word here. I won't say that. Do I just get things done? Do I wait to check for help, or do I go out and find the answer on my own? Do I lean into challenges or avoid them? What are some really difficult problems I've solved before? Applying without much experience means you'll need to fill in your weak spots and emphasize your strengths. For almost everyone, your biggest strength will be hunger and ability to learn, but companies have heard that story before, so you'll have to tie in other strengths that you use to make your story compelling. And I feel like I have a lot to bring to this part, because so applying without much experience, the perspective I have to bring to that is applying with quite a bit of experience. My career started in 2015 after I graduated from 2-year school, and even during that time, I was giving student help. So I would say my first job in IT started in 2014 when I was getting paid, low wage to help tutor other students. That was real work. I'm very happy with the work I did for that. It was paid work. So that was my first job in IT, honestly. So that I'm at the 10-year mark, because I started doing that in 2014, and it's 2024 now. So I'm not, this does not apply to me at all. I'm applying with a lot of experience, and I urge anyone watching this to really think about whether you are applying without much experience or not, because it's what I said. For some people, and for me even, it's hard to say I have 10 years of experience, because it's like, oh, I was unemployed for 8 months. Oh, it was just a student job. Stop selling yourself short. You need to strike the line between being honest with yourself and not selling yourself short. It says that right here. So you really need to own your experience and not lie, not as they say, be dishonest. Dishonesty is not a good attribute. Oversharing is not a good attribute either. So like, I'm not saying to violate like confidentiality, like that's a bad attribute to maintain confidentiality. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that the perspective I have to add to this is somebody applying with a lot of experience. And my message to other people in that camp is what you need to do is remember. And that's really hard. Your biggest strength will be remembering things you did that truly matter to employers. And this is where tailoring a resume is possible, because if you just remember one big thing you did and you forget everything else, you've got one resume. Like you should be remembering a lot of things you're doing. You should be able to put that in the language of a resume, the language of what people are looking at, and you might be hired into something and not really have a sense of the company jargon of what you're doing. For example, ops. Did you work in ops? Well, I don't know. I worked at a computer. I worked on networking devices. Was that ops? I don't know. Figure that out. Fill in the gaps, remember, and be able to talk about your experience. Don't just let it be like, oh, what happened for 10 years? I don't know, a lot of stuff. Here's one or two of the things that I can remember. No, try to remember a lot and custom tailor your resumes with real experiences you had, even if it's just like trivial stuff like, no, I seriously, legitimately worked in ops for 2 years. Like that is valuable because they're going to be hiring somebody for an operations department. And if you can seriously say, I worked in an operations department because I did this, and this, that's going to go further than, oh, I have 10 years of experience. I don't really remember what I did. Here's one or two things that I remember. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. When it comes to applying with a lot of experience, the tip I have is to try to remember that experience, and it's going to be a lot. 10 years of experience. I've worked at, let's see here, including my student coaching thing, 1, 2, 3, like 5 different places by now. And then the other thing is I did volunteer work when I was in school. I did the Wolfpack Techies. I worked at like an IT shop and I fixed computers. I like added cooling paste to a GPU and got a computer that was just completely dead up and running. And I was promoted to level 3. So like that matters. Completely forgetting about that. That's not even in my LinkedIn. But like, that's what I mean, is like when you have a lot of experience, you forget a lot of things and you're missing out on all that opportunity. It's like, no, you did that. You are what they're looking for. It's just, you can't remember that blip in your long history. And they think, oh, well, I can't hire this guy. He doesn't have any ops experience. It's like, you worked in ops for 10 years. You just didn't realize it was ops. So like, you know what I mean there? So, and again, don't be dishonest. It's just, what I'm saying is remember what you did, because everything you forget is a missed chance to be honest and to fit into kind of a mold. Like, if you have that experience, like that it's as if you don't even have it if you don't remember it. So that's what I have to say. All right, a quick note. There is a difference between hunger for opportunity and desperation. Hunger is about seeking reward, which you can do when you're in a comfortable situation and optimizing opportunities. And desperation is about avoiding failure, which occurs when you absolutely must have that job do whatever it takes to not sound desperate, even if you are. So yeah, this is a really important one too, because I think a lot of people kind of are getting to that point where there's good reason to sound desperate, because things have been a bit wild in 2023 especially. So and this is where this series is about. I'm volunteering for Agile, 501c3 educational nonprofit. It's like, yeah, so like, hunger is about seeking reward, and desperation is about avoiding failure. So it's like if you're desperate, doing volunteer work might not be something you can do, because you'll just be begging for money, and you won't have that experience on your resume. You really won't have as good of a situation. So like, being hungry, seeking reward, volunteering is great. You get all this, these really important connections, this real experience you can talk about on your resume and in interviews. But so you're seeking a reward, you're getting that, but you're not desperate. You're not trying to plead. You're not trying to beg. You're, even if you are desperate, you're seeking rewards instead of avoiding failure. So like doing things that are off-putting, begging, pleading, things associated with desperation are not as effective as things associated with what they're calling hunger, which I would say is like a drive to succeed. And do what I would love to do with this, and I'm going to do. I'm going to ask ChatGPT more about this, because I feel like the words used here are a bit kind of misleading, especially the word hunger. And I want to see what the take is. So I'm going to say evaluate this claim, and this is my favorite prompt to do with ChatGPT.
Evaluating the claim that there's a difference between hunger for opportunity and desperation, and that one should avoid sounding desperate even if they are, involves looking at the psychological, social, and professional implications of these attitudes. Hunger for opportunity. This mindset is characterized by a proactive approach to seeking out chances for growth, improvement, or advancement. It's often driven by ambition, motivation, and a vision for one's future. People with a hunger for opportunity are typically seen as eager, passionate, and ready to take on challenges. They tend to focus on the positive aspects of potential opportunities and how these can align with their goals and enhance their career or personal life. Desperation. On the other hand, desperation is usually a reaction to adverse circumstances or the fear of negative outcomes. It's often driven by necessity rather than desire, with the primary goal being to escape a bad situation or avoid failure. Desperate individuals might be perceived as willing to do anything to change their current state, which can sometimes lead to hasty decisions or actions that might not align with their long-term goals or values. Implications in professional settings. Perception. How you are perceived by potential employers or partners can significantly affect your chances of success. Hunger is often viewed positively, as it indicates drive and ambition. In contrast, desperation might be seen as a red flag, suggesting that the individual may not be the best fit for the position or might leave for a better opportunity as soon as it presents itself. Decision-making. Hunger allows for more rational and aligned decision-making because it's based on a desire to advance rather than a need to escape. Desperation can cloud judgment, leading to choices that may offer immediate relief but are not beneficial in the long term. Negotiation power. Those who appear hungry for opportunity rather than desperate tend to have more leverage in negotiations. They can afford to be choosier and negotiate better terms, whether it be salary, benefits, or work conditions, because they're perceived as having other options. Strategies to avoid sounding desperate. Focus on value. Concentrate on what you can offer to the organization or role, rather than emphasizing how much you need the opportunity. Be selective. Apply for positions that genuinely interest you and for which you are well suited, rather than a scattergun approach to job applications. Network positively. Build relationships based on mutual interest and respect, rather than approaching every interaction as a means to an end. Maintain confidence. Express confidence in your abilities and your belief in finding the right fit, rather than conveying a sense of urgency or need. In summary, while the feelings of hunger for opportunity and desperation may stem from very different places, managing the perception of these feelings can greatly impact one's professional trajectory. The claim underscores the importance of focusing on the positive, being strategic in one's approach, and maintaining a level of confidence that attracts rather than repels opportunities.
Yeah, so I think that was stated a bit more clearly. Yep, this is complete. I'm going to mark it complete and move on to the next lesson. So the next lesson is what companies want. Introduction. Now that you've figured your own situation out, the fact is that you can't get hired by just thinking about why you need or deserve the job. You have to think about things from the perspective of the company. Why are they interested in hiring you? What, therefore, will they look for? And I'm going to pause it here. I just need to take a quick break, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm usually good for an hour, so probably another half hour remaining here. So the next section is life behind the curtain. Hiring managers are busy people. That's why they need someone new to remove some of their workload and get their team working better and faster. Yeah, that's important to remember. The reason they're trying to hire someone is because they need someone to reduce the workload. They also have to deal with potentially hundreds of unqualified applicants every week, which takes up too much of their valuable time. They just want to get back to building stuff and not have to hire again anytime soon. So they are looking for someone who can add value as soon as possible and who will be able to grow with the organization. The second characteristic, growth, is something you shouldn't have much trouble selling if you've come this far and learned web development on your own. The key is to present yourself as a growth curve, not just a static line, i.e., you'll continue learning and improving very rapidly and not stop. You have real career goals, and you've learned incredibly fast so far to get where you are, right? The first part, adding value immediately, is more difficult. That's where they want to see that you've had relevant experience before and can meet their technical bar. There's a bit of a catch-22 with getting hired. The easiest way to show you are employable is to have been employed before. It's a check mark next to you. So to cater to this, do whatever you can to show that other people have believed in you enough to use your work and skills. Aside from those two characteristics, there is another major factor: fit. The hiring manager wants someone they and their team can work well with. All the other stuff represents minimum hurdles for being considered, but you often make or break your chances by being someone the team members want to know better and work with all day long. Almost all hiring processes ask the full team to evaluate a late stage candidate. Oh, right. So at some point during the hire review process, you're going to be talking to the whole team. So, they're going to be looking for certain things. Let's see here. So often you make or break your chances by being someone the team members want to know better and work with all day long. So sometimes it's about how well you can work with the team. And by the time they have someone this far along in the hiring process, every candidate, as it says, has met a certain bar. So it's like if there's 2-3 people left, like any of those would probably be better than not hiring anyone. So to summarize, hiring managers are usually looking for 3 main things. Number 1, capability. Number 2, motivation. And number 3, fit. You can learn a bit about the perspective of hiring managers by reading blog posts about how to hire developers. No need to go crazy, but try to get a picture of why they are hiring you. So I'll just read over the headlines of this quick. So Joel Sapolsky has a lengthy diatribe on hiring developers, which should give you an idea of the need and pain of hiring great engineers. So he's got a guide to interviewing. Look for people who are, 1, smart, 2, get things done. That's kind of an interesting way to go about it. It's like, if you want to do well in an interview, maybe learn about it from the interviewer's side. Learn how to give a good interview, because that might kind of give you an inside look. Beyond a resume, what tech recruiters want. We'll take a look at that one quick. So here's the articles, and again, the recommended way to go through this is to just read it over once and then go back through and really deeply look at all the additional resources and do the exercises. So just going to look at this once. Yep, so time to move on. Internships, a good way to start getting experience and show others that you're employable is to get an internship. Just make sure it's a paid internship because no one values things they get for free. You want the people you work with to value your contributions and feel like they have a stake in helping you succeed. The good part is that internships tend to focus more on your growth potential than what you've done before. So you can start to avoid that chicken and egg problem described above. Oh, right. And the problem was you have to have experience to get experience. So a way to avoid that is to get an internship. And the other thing is to get a paid internship, because it's something I mentioned before, like Robert Greene, 48 Powers. I honestly, that book might be a little cringe, but like definitely Sun Tzu, Art of War is very cringe. But if you're not getting where you want in life, it's probably because some of these you're just not doing very well. I know for me, when I read about money and how to think about money, it's just completely backwards. And I, am not from immense wealth, so it really, I think, is good to read a book like this if you're just really not happy with how your life is going, and especially if you're feeling powerless, because you might read this book and be like, oh wow, this is literally saying to do the exact opposite of everything I've done in my entire life that has led me to feel very powerless. So I definitely recommend this book, and it goes in line with this idea of having a paid internship and not having a free internship, because as I mentioned before, you should despise the free lunch because there's no value in it. And then the thing is, what it actually costs you is unknown, is transparent. It's like they can attach a value for it. If they charge you $10 for the lunch, you pay the $10, you get the lunch. If they give it to you for free, well, maybe there's some extra things they expect that might cost you $100. So despising the free lunch, getting paid is an important thing when you want to kind of feel like a powerful person and not totally powerless in life. Well, stop being in situations where there's no value. Be in a quantifiable situation where you have to pay, and then where you can get paid. That's important. So like education is a good example of that. Typically you have to pay for education, but typically as a result of the education you get paid in a job. So like that's a great example, and an internship is part of that. But internships are a little bit my perspective of this is not from someone brand new, but I think this is great advice for someone new to whatever they're trying to do, because this doesn't apply just to software engineering. It applies to pretty much anything. The hiring process. Oh, and one last thing before I go on. If you're in school, an alternative to an internship is student help. Wonderful, wonderful thing to do. When I went to school, not only did I not go into debt, I actually made money going to school, about $1,000 more coming out than I had going in, because I worked as student help, and that's a wonderful thing to do. And I legitimately helped a lot of people. Like, there were a lot of people that were like, I just wouldn't have figured this out if not for you helping me with it. The hiring process for internships is usually similar to, but not quite as rigorous as full-time positions. Internships are basically just long interviews by that company to see if they want to bring you on full-time, but you get paid in the meantime. So internships are kind of like a paid hiring process. Sounds like a good deal to me. These should be useful links for you. And one thing I wish they would talk about more is from the perspective of somebody kind of later in their career. Like, is there something like a internship you can do in that case? Like, I mean, It sounds like a paid interview process where you get paid to interview with the company. That sounds like a good deal. Like I would want to do that potentially at some point, even though, as I said, I've got about 10 years of experience. All right, so that's it for this section, what companies want. Really thought-provoking section for sure. Kind of guided at people new, but a good... so I'm going to mark that complete and move on to the next one. So this is what you can do to prepare. Introduction. Taking a structured approach to getting hired means starting early and getting some important things out of the way first. Get good. Navigating this process can be a beast, but don't let it distract you from building your skills, which ultimately will determine if you get the job or not. This course assumes you've already made it through the other courses and have accomplished enough in their completion to elevate you to competence. If not, you've got to ruthlessly address your weak points, even if it's the tricky stuff like algorithms and data structures, in order to be qualified for the kinds of positions you're applying to. And one thing I have to say about this is there is no better time in history to address your weak points, because ChatGPT exists. Just have long conversations about the things you're really weak in, and I guarantee you, like, it will be eye-opening. You can just have really deep conversations with it. I've had deep personal conversations with ChatGPT, saying things I've never been able to talk about to any entity my entire life, because now ChatGPT did flag my content and have me fill out a rebuttal, but it didn't stop me. It's like, yeah, it flagged my conversations as like inappropriate, but it was still very helpful. So like, I think my point is made that ChatGPT makes it so that this is the best point of any other time in human history to ruthlessly address your weak points. Now, you're not going to get the truth from ChatGPT necessarily. I think more often than not you are, and you will get hallucinations. But what you'll get is that even-headed colloquial view on things. You'll get the sense of something that humanity has at large. Sometimes you'll get that better or worse depending on the LLM that you use. But I find that very useful. There are certain things where, yes, it's giving you the wrong answer, or yes, it's making things up. But the alternative to that is not seeing, what the wrong answer is, not seeing what the colloquial view of something is, and just to have visibility into that, I like having that tool. It doesn't mean that everything it says is perfect, but it gives you the ability to address things that you did not have before, even if it's tricky stuff. All right, so craft a narrative. You may be uncomfortable selling yourself, but that's exactly what we'll have to do. Luckily, that doesn't mean acting like a used car salesman. It's more subtle than you think. It really means crafting a story about who you are, how you got to where you are, and why you'll keep growing. Everyone can tell a story, so put some effort into crafting a compelling narrative that stitches together your background, especially if you come from a non-traditional background, into a compelling and unavoidable wave of capability and drive. How to explain your career transition by Dory Clark. This should be interesting because I made a career transition. As I said, wanted to be a musician, and I ended up being what every assessment I took as a kid. I've definitely had that Lisa Simpson moment where it's like, wait, why do you want to be a professional musician? You should be a computer programmer. Everything about you is a computer programmer. yeah, so this would be a good one for me to read later, but as I said, the first read through of this is going to be superficial. All right, so build a portfolio. Along the way, you should keep building things. The work you've done will be crucial to demonstrating your technical skill and getting hired. Employers want to see that you can build and ship code and that you make good decisions when confronted with engineering trade-offs. All this stems from conversations about your portfolio of work. Yeah, so this is a big point. I find this really hard to do. My answer to this has been this YouTube channel. I feel like for most people, the correct answer to this is going to be GitHub, having good GitHub projects that are like real. And I feel like they're going to talk about this later, but yeah, I just found this really hard to do, especially at a level that I'm like happy with. Like this YouTube channel is junk. You know, it's YouTube poop. I've got a 6-hour video up of me failing to do something. Like, so let's see what they have to say. This portfolio is also important for another thing that isn't mentioned much: social proof. If you've been a part of larger or group projects, that's almost like showing that you've worked somewhere before. It makes the employer comfortable that other people have worked with you before, so they can too. Speaking of group projects, participating in the open source community is a great way to showcase your skills and collaborate with other developers. If you're looking for your first open source project to contribute to, start with TOP. And I think this means the Odin project. Yeah, so this is open source. We're always looking for ways to improve our curriculum, main site, and Odin-bot v2. So check out our repositories on GitHub to get started. While you're at it, check out this dev.to article to learn you can leverage open source contributions in your job search. So, all right. Oh, you have to sign up for something, which is not ideal. Oh, no, you don't. Okay, so let's see the aha moment. Oh, wow. Yeah, so a CEO reached out to him to give him a contract after his contribution. So, yeah, definitely a great thing to do. And then here's the thing that's really important. We can see here we're at odinproject.com, but here we're at github.com. And this is all the code that went into creating this site right here. Okay, so the portfolio. Oh, wait. Right, so employers want to see that you can build and ship code and that you make good decisions when confronted with engineering trade-offs. All this stems from conversations about your portfolio of work. The portfolio is also important for another thing that isn't mentioned much: social proof. If you've been part of larger or group projects, that's almost like showing that you've worked somewhere before. It makes the employer comfortable that other people have worked with you before, so they can too. Speaking of group projects, participating in the open source community is a great way to showcase your skills and collaborate with other developers. If you're looking for your first open source project to contribute to, start with this project here, the Odin project. And I remember reading this now, so I'm just going to skip through. I already read this part. Your portfolio as a developer is GitHub. Okay, there we go. Definitive answer. Mine kind of, I feel like is YouTube a bit, which kind of makes sense because, you know, some of the network engineering stuff, GNS3, it doesn't really go on GitHub. You can put like device configurations on there, but just to show me add a command line, pulling up, entering commands, configuring routing, this stuff. I can't really put that on GitHub that easily. It's better to have a video. So as a developer, your portfolio is on GitHub, but there might be other good places for that too, especially if you're not technically a developer. In my career, I definitely did not start as a developer. I started as a network engineer, and I kind of transitioned to being a developer over time. You may have a personal website, but GitHub is still the authoritative repository of your technical ability. Ignore it at your peril. there we go. Programmer's portfolio. Yeah, and GitHub is a tattletale. It will show exactly how much effort you put into something, which can be great, honestly. Like, it's I think it can only be good. Like, if it shows you haven't been doing anything for the last year, like, that can be bad. But, like, if you're working, then that's fine. You don't want it to show that you've been only working on it while you should be on the clock doing something else. So clean up your web presence and have one. So this is the big one. This is the whole impetus for my YouTube channel. I felt like I wanted to be in control of who I was online. I'm here right now. I'm making this YouTube channel. So this is my web presence. Google yourself in an incognito window to avoid Google's smart algorithm. What comes up? Do the links fit into your personal narrative? Whoever is looking to hire you will certainly Google you. Make sure that what they find matches what you want them to find. If you've got a ridiculously common name, you may have a harder time building your web presence, but it's also harder to have the wrong web presence. And I have a ridiculously uncommon name. Nobody in the world has my name. So it's easy for me to get a web presence, but unfortunately it is easy for me to have the wrong web presence, and I'm just kind of winging it. So I'm definitely at risk for that. I'm going to go ahead and do this exercise, even though the first read through is meant to not do the exercises. I'm going to Google myself. Okay, and this is good. You can see my professional LinkedIn. You can see all my, everything is good. I'm abiding by all the policies of my career, stating very clearly who I work for. And after that, you can see my GitHub account, which is great. And look at this. It features kind of the coolest repo I have up there. I'm trying to build a computer vision AI tool to make you a better juggler, and there's a lot of other jugglers trying to do this, so like I'm in good company with that. So I love that one's the first one that pops up, because I'm really passionate about this. I haven't worked on it in a while because I just feel like there's not a lot of real potential for this. Like, you have to use glow balls against a specific backdrop right now, and it's like it's just not practical to juggle that way long term to really make good progress. And like, so I just feel like the benefit you would get from having an AI juggling coach is not as much as if you didn't have one and you practice twice as much. Like, it's just not useful all that much. I'd like just filming yourself and watching the video, I think, is more useful than like the best possible AI coach that could be built today. I just feel like the technology is not there yet. Like, the fact that you have to use specific props with a specific background just means that like it's impractical to practice, and you'll practice less. Okay, and then we've got some of the things some music that I made like 10 years ago, at least 20 years ago. Not bad. Kind of could clean this up, and I've got much better music that I've made since, so could clean this up. I actually lost access to my account, so I don't think I can clean this up, but maybe I could make a new account and put up some music up there. Some of these things kind of, it's a little bit it doesn't paint me in a good light that I'm making music out of the dishes instead of washing them. So like, I could put something up there that represents me a bit better. And then even cooler, so I can, and I have some of that up on my YouTube channel, but this could probably be cleaned up a little bit. What else we got on here? We've got a post I made on LinkedIn. I found that LinkedIn posts really get a lot of traction online. Like, you cannot make a LinkedIn post or have a LinkedIn profile and not have it be at the top of your results. So you can see the very first thing is my LinkedIn account. And I'm happy with that. But I think that's when you make a LinkedIn post, you have to be kind of concerned about that, because you can have a bad post be like the only record of you online. So yeah, pretty happy with this coming on. It's just about me using ChatGPT. And then we've got some pictures of me, which I'm pretty happy with. Very old picture of me back when things were going a bit better in this regard. But things were going worse in my eyes. I got eye surgery I'm really proud about, so I don't have glasses anymore in these new ones. So I'm pretty happy with all of these pictures. They're not incriminating. Now there are 6 more images. Okay, so this one's a little bit not a good picture of me. This is a great picture of me. I love it. This one I have kind of a jokey image of me I put on LinkedIn. This one a little bit kind of wish this wasn't out there so much. I'm just kind of moving past that right now. But yeah, pretty happy with this. We've got my I do have an Instagram now. That's up there. This video I'm really happy to have up there. So this is from like what 20 years ago. This is great. Happy to have up there. So this is good too. Some of the stuff I do for health stuff is great. I like talking about health. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with what I've got on here. I guess maybe at some point I'll just take these videos down. Kind of not happy with having those up there. This is the big one. You know, I contributed to new and novel ways to juggle in a published book by a established juggling club. You know, it's been around for like more than 20 years. Like that one I'm really happy about. So yeah, pretty happy with this. So I definitely think it's important to do this. There are some things. This one I actually probably would like to get rid of that. So, but all in all, I'm pretty happy with what I've got on there. The most important part of your web presence is to fix up your GitHub profile, and I would say I disagree with that. LinkedIn is more important. That's the things that's going to show up. Make sure your projects are organized and their README files contain a description and a link to where it is live, so anyone looking at the project can quickly see your brilliance. And that's important too. As people fork it, as people download it, it's going to get fractured. It's going to get pulled away from LinkedIn. So having that self-referential link, even though you're here, you're looking at the project, and this link just goes to where you are already, well, when you pull the project down, when you move it over other places, you might lose where it came from originally. So it's important to have that documented in your README file, so you get credit for the project before it was forked. All right, so next, try to be discoverable. If we're trying to get in touch with you or find your work on the web, can I? Do you have a personal website? Are you on X, formerly known as Twitter? You don't need to go crazy with social media, but sometimes just having enough of a profile to be a real person and give people the opportunity to get in touch with you can go a long way. Use LinkedIn if you're not allergic to it, and that's a good point, because as we saw, you know, it is going to be the absolute first thing said about you online is whatever your LinkedIn account is. It's just absolutely yeah, it's just stuck there, you know. So, you know, people can, oh, I got to make them sign in. I should probably make this more public. That's to see the full profile. Oh, my websites are listed here. Okay, so you can get to my GitHub, you can get to here, but it is a little bit hard to, I think, contact me directly, I think. But all right, not bad. But yeah, that's a good point. LinkedIn will take over your online image, and then LinkedIn is kind of one of these sites like TikTok or Facebook that push you posts on a news feed that you don't necessarily consent to see. So again, this is about getting your personal narrative out there in the way you choose, and not relying on Google to get it right. LinkedIn is fast replacing the resume anyway, so perfect. Yep. Came to that realization a while. That is an important realization. When somebody Googles you, they should find things that you want them to see, and not things secondhand that people are saying about you. They should get you directly right from the source of what you want out there. It should be like having a real conversation with you in real time. Other sites like Brand Yourself below will describe it a bit better, how to take on your web presence, but just make sure your narrative is being told the way you want it to. So we've got Brand Yourself. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. So I think this is called like search engine optimization, but these would be great things to check. So that I'll enter my name into that, and then it might be some kind of extortion service where like I don't get the results until I pay, but yeah, so they're gonna send me the results. I don't know if it's free or what's gonna happen. I'm again, the first read through is just superficial. You go back through it and do the examples. I just want to kind of skim through these quick, get a sense of like what they're saying. Yeah, there's great articles to go back and read later. So get out in the community and collect information. Find and meet other developers. This doesn't mean power networking, but it does mean a genuine human connection. Your network of people does matter in a big way. For now, it's probably just for answering questions and harvesting advice, but your next job will probably be found through the people you know and some who you meet while you're gathering this advice. People like giving advice and like investing themselves emotionally in other people with growth curves. That's best to do in person, one-on-one, where you can ask your dumb questions, but there are plenty of communities as well. Meetup, Stack Overflow, Quora, local user groups. Be a part of them and don't be afraid to ask questions. That's a great way to build relationships. Yeah, one advantage of shaking someone's hand and looking them in the eye is it's not in writing. I feel like sometimes the things you say in writing can be interpreted 1,000 different ways. And like if you say it in person, people just ask for clarification or for a follow-up. But if you say it in writing, you know that's all you get is the writing and the follow-up, the confirmation of what you mean. The filling in the blanks doesn't happen from you. It's just other people kind of pile upon what you meant, and your message is out of your hands. So I think that's a big advantage of one-on-ones in persons is it's not in writing, and what you say can be clarified, can be withdrawn, can be responded to in like more useful ways, and not just, you know, it's still yours. It's your words. Once you put it in writing, you've kind of forfeited it out to other people to do with what they will. You'll probably have a million questions, but the relevant ones here are about understanding what exactly different jobs are and what they're looking for. The easiest way to find out is ask developers what they do. It's much faster than trolling through blog posts trying to figure out the process. Buy lunches and coffees if you must. Set a goal of talking to 5 real human beings about your job search. Yeah, that's good advice. Another way to get this information is to check out a whole bunch of job postings. You'll quickly start seeing similarities between them. Yeah, it's exploitative work, but it must be done. Yeah, that's important, I think. Another facet of this is related to your web presence. Don't be afraid to produce content like blogging or answering questions on Quora. They don't need to be explicitly technical, but should showcase your ability to think critically and write well. Both of these play well with future employers. Yeah. So that's another big one. That's what this YouTube channel is all about. Um, it's kind of like blogging in a way. So, and I have a personal and a professional. If anyone's curious about me personally, they can go to my personal channel, and I talk about some things on there. I try to keep that like pretty guarded. I just want the attention to go professionally. I want to be seen as a competent, respected professional, and I feel like personally you can, even though you're really good professionally, you can turn people off with a personal image of a certain way. As they say, one of the 2/3 of what they're looking for is fit. So if you kind of present yourself as somebody who doesn't fit or can't fit, that can be really problematic. All right, so another facet. Right, don't be afraid to produce. Yep, they don't need to be explicitly technical, but should showcase your ability to think critically and write well. Both of these play well with future employers. How to win friends and influence people. Yeah, everyone. I think I own this book now. I bought it, but I never read it. You can read it for free. This is the full thing for free. It's in the public domain, as far as I know. So this might be a good one for this channel or my personal channel or something, because I've been wanting to read this. I just haven't. So that might be a good one for the future. It's an essential classic that relates to business and networking, but is applicable to all facets of the social world around you. It's a must read for everyone, and it's an easy read. So someday. All right, so the next part is a project. It's building your personal website, and I'm gonna put that in a part 2. Yep, we're at the hour mark about. That's usually all I can do, especially if I'm on my treadmill. It's just kind of a lot to make these videos. I mean, try it. Try talking straight for an hour. It changes your voice for the better. It's kind of one of my superpowers. I have that camera confidence. So, and I developed that. Look at my old videos. I do not have that in those old videos. So I'm going to stop here and stay tuned for part 3. We're about halfway through the course, so more to come.